Alrighty guys, welcome back to this lecture on getting your environment set up. This is going to be a little bit technical, and this is kind of not the very sexy stuff, but it's a necessary step. And so we've tried to break it down to easy to follow steps. So all you're going to need to do is basically copy and paste a bunch of stuff. And then after this lecture, we'll get to the good stuff. So just a quick overview of what we're going to do. We're going to install Homebrew, which lets us install a bunch of other things. This will let us install MySQL, which we'll do. And then after we install MySQL, we want to be able to write our queries in a little graphical user interface, so it's nice to see and nicely organized. And we're going to download SQL Pro and install that. After that, we're going to set up our database and fill it with a bunch of data so that we could actually create and our queries and run it against that database. So by the end of this lecture, you'll have a database set up that you can query against and have a bunch of fun. So let's get started. First things first though, this lecture historically has been a tough lecture for our students. We get the most questions about this, and that's because just installing and getting an environment set up is notoriously difficult. There's a lot of different moving parts. For each person's computer is a little bit different, and so you might get an error. So one thing we want to let you know at the outset is that if you do get an error, there's a lot of support for you on the internet. A lot of other people have probably had the same issue. So what you should do is if you get an error, just copy paste whatever error message gets printed out to you. Copy paste that, literally just Google search it. And after you Google search it, there'll be a lot of people with the same issue, and you could just see how they solved it. Usually a good website, one search result that will pop up is from stackoverflow.com, and that will usually have an answer right away. So just a heads up, try to do that. We'll show you an example later on in this lecture. But I'm going to have Pete take it away in installing Homebrew.
All right, here we go. So first things first, you can go to brew.sh. That is the Homebrew homepage. And so the first thing we need to do is just install Homebrew. So you can go here, right underneath the large install Homebrew sign, come in here, copy this command, open up terminal. So I'll close that and just show you. So on a Mac, you can use a spotlight to search for it. Open up terminal, come over here. We're just going to paste this guy in here and then hit return. It's going to do some work, and press return to continue. So I'm going to hit return again. Password. So this is asking for the password for my computer. So whatever you use to log into your computer, type that in here.
Even though it's invisible, it's still actually typing.
Yeah, so nothing's going to type in, but you should be confident that you know your password. Then hit return again, and then it will start downloading and installing Homebrew. This shouldn't take too long.
Will do I have to do a different process when I'm on El Capitan versus Yosemite?
No, so that's the beauty of Homebrew. It will work it's built to work across all different versions of Mac. So especially like even when there's a new version come out, since so many people rely on them, they go in, they update it with whatever needs to be done. Okay, so we have that. And now Homebrew, using Homebrew, you can use a really easy command to install MySQL, and so all you need to do is say brew install MySQL. It's that easy. So that's the beauty of Homebrew. They make it really easy. Once you install their packages, it's really easy to install other programming languages and that sort of thing. So we'll hit brew install MySQL, hit return. It's thinking, installing. Ooh, very nice.
This might take a while, so we'll just fast forward this part.
All right. So I know that took a couple minutes, but now we're ready to go. So in this section, we're actually going to show you an error that David got when he was testing this out. And so we want to create that error again and then show you how we went about finding the correct way to do it. But then don't worry, we will give you the correct way to do it and make it easy to log in. But we just want to show you the process of searching Google and Stack Overflow. So after this installs, it says to connect, use MySQL-uroot. So you're like, ooh, that sounds good. Copy that, paste it down here, hit enter.
Ooh, error!
Shoot, we should have... okay, so now we got this error. Who knows what that means right away?
Google does.
But what we can do, copy that, come over here, open a new tab, paste in the error, And then it's always good to, like, after, say what program, like programming language or system you are using, just to give more context. So we want to type in MySQL because it's a MySQL error. Then we'll hit enter.
Oh,
and,
what do you know? First result from Stack Overflow.
Exactly. So now you can see, like, hey, this is a pretty common issue people come across. You're not alone. Stack Overflow, they're the best. So let's click on this first one. See what's going on. So I'm trying to install MySQL through Homebrew. Sounds familiar. They use brew install MySQL, but running MySQL gets this well-known error. And that's what we all have. And you can see 244 other people came on here and upvoted this question. And then this very nice guy named Eric Dennis came on here and gave us a solution.
Yeah, and sometimes, honestly, because there's so many different scenarios, the first Stack Overflow answer that you get might not necessarily solve everything, but that's a starting point, and then it'll just lead you down a trail of Stack Overflow questions. And just so you know, Stack Overflow is a website that almost every developer uses, like real engineers, and so you're not really cheating. This is just a community kind of based way to solve things.
So we just showed you how to troubleshoot an error that you would have gotten within the terminal by searching on Google and Stack Overflow. We're going to fast forward a little bit. David did a lot of work for you, found the solution to this issue. But going forward, if you have issues, we really encourage you to use that process.
Yes.
But okay, so now that we have MySQL installed, to do the next steps, we need to make sure MySQL is not running on your computer at the moment. So the first thing we're going to do is actually run the command to start it in case, just because we know some people might have it running, some people might not. So we're just going to start it. That's a success. Then we're going to copy and paste MySQL.server space stop and run that. And now no one has it running. We're all on the same page, which is perfect. And then the next thing we're going to do is run this command that will allow us to log into MySQL in like the interim with like a temporary account so that we can then set our password and start using SQL Pro and everything else that we need. So we'll paste this command in. So MySQL d_safe --skip--grant--tables. So we run that. And as you see, like another $sign and like my name and the computer name don't show up. And that means it's actually running something in the background and we can't use this tab anymore. So if you hit Command T, you open up a new tab in the terminal. And now we can go forward with the rest of our steps. So on this side, we need to log into MySQL, and we're able to do that because it's running. And we're going to log in kind of like with a dummy account here. So MySQL space -u space root. And now we have a SQL interface where we can actually start typing in commands. And so the first thing we're going to do is use this update command. And pretty much what we're doing is setting the password for the MySQL user to the string that's right here. And so you can enter in anything you want. I'm going to have a really strong password named password, but I encourage you to use whatever you would use, whatever makes you feel safe. So we're going to copy that.
Make sure that your password is within single quotes.
Yeah, so the password needs to be within single quotes here.
We're going to have all the directions, things to copy and paste in a file, but just keep that in mind.
Yeah, so we'll paste this in here. Hit enter, and it's okay. So this is query okay, one row affected, one change. That's perfect. So that means it worked. The next thing that we do is we're going to go and run this command flush privileges. Query okay, didn't change anything, but it is still good. So now we are actually going to close this tab and open a new one. So now we have a clear new tab, and what we're going to do is log into MySQL using that new password. So paste this in, so MySQL-u space root-p. So you hit enter, it's asking for our password. This is the password that we just set here in the update statement. So mine was password. So I'm typing that in, I hit enter, and boom, we're in, we're good. And then the last thing we need to do
One quick note. As you saw Pete, I forget if we mentioned this before, but as you saw Pete write in his password, it was as he was typing, there wasn't any like asterisk to show how many characters he was typing. But that's how MySQL works. Just understand that as you type, it is recognizing your input, but it won't show it. I think maybe for security reasons. So just trust that it's being set, and then press enter when you're done typing your password.
Yeah, and you'll get obviously you'll get like if you write the wrong thing, it'll let you know, and you can have another shot. Okay, so the last thing we need to do here is use this alter user root at localhost identified by, and then we're going to enter that same password that we put in there. So password, again with the single quotes, and then we'll just paste this in here. And it's query okay. It looks like it worked. So perfect. So now our password is set for MySQL, and the next thing we're going to do is download SQL Pro, which is a really cool graphical user interface to interact with the database that you're working with, and also write the SQL queries that we're going to use throughout this course. So just come here. You want to download for Mac. It is free, so you don't need to pay anything, which is awesome. It's a really great product. So that's going to be downloading, and we can close everything here in the terminal, and we are just going to focus on this guy. So this is downloaded. It's going to open it up. It's nice little stacks of pancakes there. That's fine. Open. All right, so now that we have SQL Pro installed, we now need to log in.
Start covering me up, dude. Just keeping yourself there.
You're out.
All right,
Only the
most
models.
beautiful.
Yes, so now that we have SQL Pro installed, we need to log in with the credentials we just created. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move. So you're gonna start out with standard, probably move over to socket. It automatically names it localhost. But let's name it SQL for Noob, so we know that it's for this course. The username that you're going to put in is going to be root, so ROOT. Everyone will have that. The password that you're going to use is the password that you set in this command. So for me, it was password. So without the single quotes, just the word password, or whatever you set it to. And then before we hit connect, we actually want to add this to our favorites, so that next time that you come, you see where it says Peter here, right below it, it'll say SQL for Noobs. You'll be able to click there, and your password and your username will all be saved. So we're going to add it to the favorites. So there it is. Now when we can go here, and then we see everything. And now we just hit connect, and we're in. But one thing that is pretty important is we do not have the actual database to use, and so what we will do is, and what you can do is go to the upper right hand corner of this lecture, your right hand corner, our left hand corner, and there'll be a link for view resources. Tap that, and then it's going to open up this tab. Scroll to the bottom, and we're going to download the Sequila database. So the Sequila database is a really awesome, and once you download it, just click it to open and unzip it. So we're going to open this file. But the Sequila database is this really cool test database that the MySQL team created. So the people who actually created MySQL created this database. So for people who wanted to learn, they could download it and use it. And it's really cool. So it mirrors a blockbuster-esque movie rental business, and so it has a bunch of tables about customers, movies, locations, rentals, payments, all that stuff that is going to make our course really awesome. Okay, so to get that information into SQL Pro, what we need to do is simply drag and drop these two files into the query tab of SQL Pro, and we need to start with a Sequila-schema.sql file. So that's what's going to actually create the outline for all the tables. So
yeah, make sure that you're doing this in the correct order. So
yeah,
do
so you
schema
need
first.
schema
before
first, and then data. So we're going to Command A to select all, and then Command R to run it. Oh, and boom! So that
Whoa.
was very fast. And now what we can see, if I can expand this. Okay, so now we have an actor table. If we looked over to the content tab, so that should list everything that's within the table, you see that it's actually empty. So we have all these tables, but no information in them. And as you might have guessed, that is what's going to be in the data file. So we're going to delete that one now that it's already run. We're going to drag in the Sequila-data.sql. And it says, do you really want to proceed with 3.1 megabytes of data? And of course we do. So this is going to be a big file. It might take a little bit of time. But again, Command A to select all, and then Command R. And this is writing, well, that was very fast as well. But this is writing all the information for these tables into the table. So we go to the actor table now, and boom, we see all the actors that played in different movies. We see addresses for all of our Blockbuster users and the cities that they come in. And so this is like a real life database that we can now run some awesome queries on. But yeah, so I hope that install process wasn't too painful. That should work for all versions of Mac. So yeah, enjoy and good luck.
Yeah, make sure to look at the same resources table in that where we showed you where you download the
Yeah.
Sequila database. We'll have a Sublime text file with all the commands for you to copy and paste, so you don't have to type it out yourself.
Exactly.
And again, if you find an error, what do? Google, Stack Overflow are your best friends.
Yep. All right. Good luck. See you soon.
See ya.